Hey guys, this is James from TeaDB, and we are joined by special guest once again, Mr. Meat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Your fans have been pounding their Gaiwans on the tables, waiting for your reappearance. Some people actually started to use the hashtag more meat. I'm not even kidding right now.
Oh, wow.
It may have been one person, but they were very excited to see you again.
Yeah,
so welcome back.
That's glad to hear.
Yeah. And so today we're actually not reviewing a white tea club. We're doing one of your teas. And you own, you're not in short stock of this tea, am I correct?
That's right. Well, you were the one who got it for me on your trip to Taiwan, so I ordered about 5 kilos of this tea.
Just 5 kilos.
Just 5 kilos.
And
it made you walk about a few miles in 90-degree weather.
Yes, it was rather hot that day. So, do you want to explain how you found this tea originally, and we could talk a little bit about how you ended up with about this much in tea volume?
Well, so I mean, we originally visited Taiwan in October, and basically I tried some of their tea. I can't remember the exact amount. It was something like 200 grams of the tea, and I finished it within a couple of weeks once we got back. You know, I really like that tea. And then turns out you were going back to Taiwan again for another trip. So I had to take advantage of that and get the same Shuixian.
Okay, so this is a Wooey tea. This is a Shuixian.
Yeah.
It's from 2005, is that right?
It is 2005.
Yep.
And, well, apparently I didn't know this, but the owner seemed to have a lot more different kinds of Wooeys there, right?
Yeah, he had some. This was definitely like sort of the one that he had boxes of piled up in sort of like the top of the shelves and stuff. So it's definitely like one of his ones that he's selling quite a bit of. But yeah.
Right. So it's one of the better Shuixians that I've had. Like to say it's very smooth and slightly sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to like Wuis a lot and Dankongs, and it's obviously in the same subset. So.
And are Wooey teas something that you drink regularly?
Pretty regularly.
Yeah. So sort of like your go-to drink.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Wooey and Dankongs are kind of my...
I would hope so if you bought 5 kilos of it. All right, should we get brewing?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, let's do it.
So, it's not my usual pot, so it might be...
Yeah. So do you normally brew in that Gaiwan that you brought over? Actually,
no. Almost every Gaiwan that I've owned, I have broken the tops of. So it was a clay pot that we bought while I was out there from the same shop owner that sold us the Wooey.
Yeah. So I'm not quite generous enough after Meat said that to allow him to use one of my Gaiwans. So we are using a pot here.
I'm kind of... I don't know. I don't enjoy brewing in Gaiwans with the experiences that I've had anyways. All right.
And that is totally fine. And how much do you fill the pot normally?
I would say like the bottom's fully covered and maybe about like a half an inch high.
Okay.
So it might be right now I have a lot of this tea.
Yeah.
So perhaps I'm being a little bit more than generous, when brewing. I don't know. It lasts me more brews.
Okay.
So it's perfect.
So you do not get out the scale and measure exactly how much tea.
Almost never.
You'll fill the bottom and then plus a little bit.
Most of my tea drinking happens at work.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost never have the chance to measure it.
And you normally do rinse your tea?
Depends. It just depends on whether I remember or not, how much hurry I am in.
Uh-huh.
In terms of if I have a meeting, I'll just brew it and go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So rinsing it definitely refines the taste a little bit, cleans it up.
Mm-hmm.
My times aren't also as as good as yours in terms of how long you wait. Sometimes I end up going on, IMs or something and forgetting to take out the hot water for a couple of minutes there.
So how does this tea do if you give it the Google Chat instant message treatment where you forget to brew it, or like the mom that like gets a phone call or something?
It is definitely, it's very strong. And it's very good. It's got a kick to it if you forget.
Okay.
But after you do that once, it's not going to last you very many brews.
Gotcha.
So it depends on what kind of use you want out of it, I suppose.
So it sounds like the tea is fairly forgiving in the sense that it won't get super nasty like Yongpuer or something like that would, for instance, where you just get super, really strong, really bitter brew.
It definitely, it would not. It doesn't get bitter at all. It gets sweeter and has a good kick to it.
And do you use a cha hai as well at work? Something like
I used to, but I've kind of stopped doing that again because of the way the timings have worked out.
Okay. So you usually just
here's
pour
the first brew.
Straight into a cup then?
Mm-hmm. I have a standard IKEA mug.
Cool. Yeah, I would say that's very practical brewing advice for some of the people that might be brewing at work. Keep it very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
very
you're
convenient.
in, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. You might end up with a slightly cold tea by the end of it, but it works out. It still tastes good.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. So it's still very hot, but it definitely tastes like a wooey rock tea. It has a lot of like those minerals and sweet taste to it.
Yep.
I'm going to take a quick smell of this as well. It's a really nice aroma. A lot of flowers and florals coming off of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So how many times have you had this tea? Because I remember once you had it was when we were out there the first time.
I've had this is my third time having it.
Okay.
The first time was the time where we both had it for the first time. The second time was when I had to verify that it was indeed the same tea, and this is now the third time. So
good. What my experience with the reason I asked was my experience with this tea has been the different kind of the mugs, or not mugs, but the pots that I've used have had slightly different tastes to it.
Interesting.
Different enough at times to the point where actually tastes quite significantly different to me. Sometimes it comes out slightly darker, and other times it's lighter, but it's sweeter.
And so, where would you say that this brewing of it falls in that spectrum? Like towards the lighter end or towards the darker end?
Towards the lighter end, but also less sweet actually. In this case, compared to the pot that I use at work, the clay pot that I have.
Very interesting.
So the pot could have just it could have worked on absorbing the flavors better or something, or it might just work better.
The pot at work.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm not sure how the chemistry of things affects the taste here.
Yeah, and it could just be it retains heat better. It could be quite a lot of reasons. Anyways, what do you like about this tea that we're drinking right now?
It's very hard to tell. What I like, I just like the wooey taste overall, right? Specifically about this tea is, it's rather how I differentiate it from what I don't like about other teas.
Okay.
It's either some teas get too leafy and vegetably too quick, and so I don't like that generally. I don't like the fact that some of the teas are very carbony and charcoaly, very charcoal flavor taste, and that could be sometimes how it would depend on how they prepare. Yeah,
and I would agree. I think this tea is at a really nice spot. I also dislike, one thing I dislike about wooey teas is when you drink them like maybe immediately after, or if it's super roasted, and all you can just taste is like charcoal or roastiness, and it might be good leaf beneath it. But I think part of that might have to do with the fact that this tea is a little bit over 10 years old now, and so it's allowed that roast to, exactly. So it's allowed that roast to mellow. So I agree with Meat in the sense that I do like teas, tend to enjoy wooey teas around this time period.
So here's some of the same brew, but we can. Well, actually, I poured this. I don't know if you want to have the same brew or we can go to the next level.
We totally can keep drinking. Let's keep it as you do in work. So
sure,
we will drink. Cheers guys. Again. It's very smooth. It's sweet initially. It's a very friendly profile, so I could definitely enjoy this as sort of like a nice daily tea. It there's a lot of like the sweetness really lingers in the mouth. And I get a lot of like activity towards the back of the mouth, like depth, rather than like I think a lot of bad teas, they'll just be like right at the front of the mouth, and it'll just be like really bitter or nasty and stuff like that. This tea is not at all that. It's got a nice depth to it, and so I can feel my whole mouth starting to feel very nice from drinking this tea. So that's what I'm getting off of this tea.
I agree. I specifically agree about the feeling in the back of your mouth, even, sort of like the middle and the back half of your tongue, kind of my tongue, just feeling nice and,
Exactly.
tasty.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the marks of a good tea. It's sort of like how it feels afterwards, like the energy you get off of it, as well as like just, is it sweet in your mouth? Is it sweet in your throat? So a lot of things in tea aren't like immediately detected. It's like, a hint of raspberries or whatever. It's like this tea is nice, it's smooth, and it has a really nice aftertaste. So I can definitely see why you enjoy this tea.
Yeah. The other thing is, my work tends to be pretty busy at times. If you think about the intensity at work, it goes, really high, and then sometimes really low periods of quietness. And this tea kind of helps me just have my mood be on a slightly normal, more temperate level. That's how I feel. Doesn't get me too high energy, and it doesn't like bring me down or make me crash at times.
So it's very balanced, the sort of feeling that you get off of this.
Yes.
And that's also a good thing to know. And I would agree. It's like a tea that's not super old. It's also not super young. It's very middle of the road or balanced in that sense.
Right. So let's try to brew it slightly longer this time.
Cool.
What I've noticed is if you're brewing it not too long, the taste isn't as strong. Like if you forgot about it for a couple of minutes or something, it'd be fine, but like maybe 10-15 seconds or even 30 seconds, it doesn't. I felt that it doesn't get too strong. It definitely gets stronger, but it doesn't go.
So you're saying that if you brew it for a little bit, it gets a little bit stronger, but not terribly.
Strong.
So so unless you give it sort of like the oh shit, I forgot about the cup treatment, it doesn't get too bad.
Yeah, that happens every once in a while. I'll brew some more.
All right. And this is sort of how you do it at work. You stack a couple of infusions. You do brew once, and you brew again.
Yeah, my pot does about half of my mug, so I do a couple of infusions in one go.
Okay, makes sense.
I just do that.
And then you'll just, when you feel like having some more tea, you'll go back and you use the same set of leaves, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And how many times can you normally steep this tea?
It's let's see. It just goes on. Like it depends on your personal level. At what point you feel that it's kind of done. But I would say it easily goes to about 7 or 8 infusions for me total. So that's 4 full cups of tea.
Okay.
It definitely doesn't lose the color if you keep going, and if you keep increasing the times, the taste kind of the proper tea taste goes away, and
So
it starts to
peters
get
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm. I see.
But so here's slightly longer brew. I want to say we waited 10 or 13 seconds on an average.
Mhm.
I didn't keep a count.
So a little bit longer. The water also probably cooled down a little bit, so it's going to be probably a little bit different. We'll have to see. It's still brewing up a nice, healthy, vivid, sort of like red with maybe a hint of orange color. So
That's true.
yeah,
Slightly darker, but not too dark, I suppose.
and it can smell sort of like those rocks in this
Rocks,
taste.
yeah.
And it's actually a fairly different profile. It's more floral, a little bit more of those rocks and minerals in it.
I think with my pot, you would notice less rocky and minerally taste. It would rather have a more sweeter profile.
I see.
So it's an interesting turn, you know.
And I mean, you've had this tea plenty of times, so you are definitely familiar with sort of like how this tea will perform on your own setup.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, on a cup to cup basis, it goes slightly sweeter, and then it starts to peter out after a while.
Cool. Yeah, and so one of the concepts, I think the last topic we'll touch on, one of the concepts in pour buying actually is that like you drink a tea, and if you really like it, there's no guarantee that the tea will be around for a long time. So what you do is you buy
A few
basically
kilos.
a shit ton of it.
Sure.
Yeah,
shit ton.
yeah. I mean, a shit ton could vary. I mean, it could be a couple kilos, or
Of
it could
course.
be 5 kilos. It could
Right.
be 10 kilos. Maybe you didn't buy enough. I don't know.
Mhm.
And you sort of did that with this tea.
I did, but I mean, it's first of all, it's not in a cake form where you can kind of, store it well. And I mean, while that may not be intention of every pour drinker, but it tends to be to a certain level for a lot of the pour drinkers from what I've seen. Kind of store it away, and then see how the tea turns out. Obviously, more aged tea, pour tea tends to be more valuable.
Right.
And perhaps it's the same for we, but my intention has been purely to drink it.
Exactly. And the other thing I would say is like, you haven't really found a great alternative to this tea at this price range. Is that right?
That's true.
Yeah. So that's
yeah,
part
yeah.
of the reason why poor people will buy so much of it is like if you like the taste, you may not be able to get it again once it's sold out.
Right. I guess maybe it's because we've only been to Taiwan, and then so perhaps the market is more focused there on pour tea. But we didn't find a whole lot of different places for we.
Yeah, we found a lot of, and we also went and did a little bit of shopping in Hong Kong. And for the most part, we found stuff that was either worse or comparable to Yunnan sourcing Wui, which is what you were buying before you bought this tea.
I actually use, at home, because I still have the boxes of the tea still at work. At home, I use, my Shuixian from Yunnan.
Okay, so you're still okay drinking sort of the Yunnan sourcing stuff.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. It doesn't quite compare to this tea, but I'm fine. I like it. It's still good.
Yeah,
it's
and
still a good tea.
Yeah, it's a little bit cheaper too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for appearing, Meat. We will have you on again. We will have to bring on some white tea clubs. Those have been building up as I've been gone in Taiwan, and we are going to sit here and watch the NBA Finals and continue to enjoy this tea. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.